Hey, this is Pamela Riemenschneider. I'm the retail editor for Blue Book Services, and I have Anna Marie here from 210 Analytics, and we're talking about COVID-19 consumer spending and what did we see in week 10 that kind of stood out from previous weeks?
Well, what stood out is that nothing stood out. We weren't quite sure what this week was going to be because, of course, the week before, the week ending May 10, was Mother's Day. And we know that's normally a huge holiday for eating out. That wasn't possible this year. So we weren't sure how much that had actually boosted produce sale and retail this year. So this week was in between two holidays, in between Mother's Day and Memorial Day. So we were hoping for flat results versus last year, and that's exactly what happened. So produce ended up coming in at plus 17%. Vegetables continue to outproduce fruit like we have been seeing, but just great strength overall across the board.
Okay, weekly check-in. How good did oranges do this week?
Again, no news, 71%. It just, it keeps on going. It is unbelievable. And at this point, there's good variety of summer fruits on the market. So it's not like consumers don't have a choice. They continue to flock towards oranges. I'm just absolutely convinced it has everything to do with this notion of need my vitamin C. Vitamin C equals oranges. So off I go on my oranges.
It's crazy, and even I'm looking at the numbers right now, and we saw just an ever so slight dip in oranges. They started out at actually in the beginning of March, before all this started, they were minus 4%, and then we just saw this meteoric rise, and maybe just a little bit up and down. But since they're averaging over 60% in the last 10 weeks of watching this is nuts, and then 71% this week, and that's tying the highest year-over-year sales increase. And at this time of year, like you said, it's not like there's not any competition. We've got cherries, we've got stone fruit, we've got melons, we've got everything, and yet oranges are still hanging in there. It's amazing.
Yeah, the only other thing I was thinking about was that whole argument that people had for a while about limes and lemons being in water, and that's why it seemed to be driving organic maybe, and I don't know, there were all sorts of theories on that. And of course, now there's a big debate on whether people want packaging, yay or nay, because of the fear of buying fresh produce. So maybe they figure, well, an orange I peel, so whatever happened to it in the store, I'm safe to eat it. Maybe that plays into it. I don't have any evidence of that, but the performance of oranges is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and another crop that we've been watching that we talked about a few minutes ago when we were kind of pre-gaming here, kind of gives you an idea of how maybe consumer perception of the safety of produce could be changing. What's happening with lettuce?
Yeah, so lettuce is one I've been trying to keep my eye on. It's by far the biggest category in terms of dollar sale. So it's logical that we don't see these enormous spikes that we've seen relative to some of the smaller categories of produce. But at the same time, what happened to lettuce during the two big panic buying weeks, it did go up a little bit, but then it actually went all the way flat. It sat at about 0%, 2% for a few weeks. And that was very unusual if you think about the fact that the rest of the produce department is up 20, 25%. The whole store is up 20, 25% over the prior year. So it was odd to see what happened to lettuce. And then if you think about it, and you think about a produce store and the amount of bulk lettuce that is sitting there, relate that to the fear that people have been talking about, I can easily imagine that people equated lettuce with you know what, that's a lot of surface that people might have been coughing on or touching or running their hands over. And so what we have been seeing in the last few years, few weeks, I should say, is that it's been starting to bounce back very nicely. And now it's running in the mid-teens. And so for several weeks running. So it just shows to me that maybe the consumers are rebuilding some of the trust in fresh. They've been telling us that, and certainly the numbers are showing it as well.
All right, well, it does make sense to, when we first had that peak of paranoia of, sanitizing everything, washing your fruit in a soapy water, All of that seems to have calmed down. Perhaps people realize that they don't need to quarantine their groceries in the garage for 3 days before they bring them in the house. I know there's a couple of outliers that are still doing that, but perhaps we're turning a corner on that, and some of these other produce items that people were maybe shying away from are no longer suffering. That's good news. But
Yeah.
there's an area that in your other research that perhaps isn't exactly produce department, but is very related to the produce department, that is an area of concern. What's happening in the deli?
Huge area of concern and huge area of consistency as well. So right when the two big panic buying weeks happened in the rest of the store is pretty much when deli prepared started to just fall off the cliff and has sat there since. And if we think about the amount of volume that goes through salad bars and olive bars and self-serve bars, and certainly in certain retailers and within urban areas especially, those are mostly closed, and sales for deli prepared overall are down between 35 and 40% every single week. Areas like soup, really anything self-serve is down 70-80% because for the most part the areas are closed. Retailers have tried to package some of it, but it's hard to do, and not every consumer is in the market for that. And I know in deli prepared, one of our biggest issues for a long time already was being on the radar. You know, let's just say a consumer isn't in the mood to cook, or just doesn't have the time to cook. Oftentimes restaurants end up winning out 2 out of 3 times. And so now with deli prepared being closed, and shoppers are not really intending to go to the store a whole lot. In fact, we've seen the trip frequency drop very much over the last couple of weeks. You know, it's a tremendous hit. And salad bars, I don't know, what's your opinion? Are they ever going to make a comeback?
I don't know. You know, we've talked about this. I've sent some pictures to you over the last couple of weeks. There are certain retailers that have really made their mark in their fresh prepared, especially their salad bars. The Whole Foods is close to me. I went there the other day. The salad bar has a sign that says temporarily closed. And it makes me wonder if it's going to come back, and what it's going to look like when it comes back. And the food service sector is kind of giving us a little bit of insight on that. We've seen some chains have some issues. Sweet Tomato and Soup Plantation, a chain that goes back, you know, decades, that started in San Diego. It was already having a little bit of trouble before COVID-19, but actually it was like the nail in the coffin for them. They've declared bankruptcy and are going out of business. They've gone out, but then there's others that have pivoted toward cafeteria style. We've got Super Salad. That's one of those ones with huge salad bars. They're actually not allowing self-serve. And then if you just think about the prevalence of sneeze guards everywhere, I mean, you can't even, like when I'm at the store, I have to slide the cashier has to slide the receipt underneath a little ticket window to try to get it to me. People don't want to be touching food. And when we think about all of the retailers that have put so much into this self-serve and these take and eat meals, I think that some have done a good job of marketing that to consumers who can't cook or don't want to cook, the convenience of it, but they don't have very much shelf life. So you can't do your every other week shopping and be doing a lot of these take and eat meals. Nobody wants to eat in their cars right now.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I ate in my car, because I go home straight from the store after I sanitize my hands, get everything in there and wash my hands because of being around people. Obviously, I'm not scared of the produce that I bought. So this, you know, people aren't at work, people don't eat quick and easy meals on the go. And this whole eating on the go thing has just died. And I don't know how much of it's going to come back as we all start going back to the office, although we are in our offices right now.
You know, I get the question a lot. People are like, "Are salad bars coming back? How about olive bars? How about just self-serve buffets overall?" And you know, I don't have the answer, but I'll say, coming from Europe and doing store tours in the US with Europeans, with Australians, with people from other parts of the world, they always look at me and wonder, like, aren't people afraid to buy that food. And I go, well, it has the sneeze guard thing. And they go, yeah, but. And so this whole idea of all the self-serve is somewhat unique to the United States anyway. And I will tell you, there's been many European retailers and from other parts of the world that have truly, you know, kind of scratched their head like, wow, how does this work? And you don't really find a lot of that in other parts of the world. And I'm just wondering if it's an innovation that worked extremely well. To your point, retailers have invested in it hugely, not only in the equipment, but really as a point of differentiation and seating areas and keeping people in the store. And now it's all one big question mark. And I've heard Wegmans is already converting some of their olive bars and converting other parts to employee served, which is going to completely change the labor and cost model again. So it is, yeah, it's devastating to see.
And even some retailers use salad bars as a way to help mitigate waste. They shop the floor and convert some stuff, chop it up, get it sold in a salad, get it sold in prepared food. I don't think prepared food is going to suffer as much as the self-serve salad bars. I think the self-serve salad bars, especially the ones that aren't heated, people have that idea of it's germy. And people had that idea before. Not everyone is a salad bar person, but I personally like them. I grew up eating from salad bars. So I think the numbers over the next couple of months are going to show us what that square footage is going to do. Is that, you know, area for retailers to chop off the sales floor and turn into order fulfillment for online grocery. I know a lot of retailers are trying to find a place in the store to facilitate this. I've seen the way that HEB has converted sales floor square footage into online fulfillment. They've even like built on like little portables, like you see at schools that don't have enough space. They build on a little hut onto the side of the store for the online order fulfillment. So I think
that's an area of growth. So that might be a great guess. I don't know. Time will tell. And unfortunately, I think a lot of times as retailers, we have a lot of control, and we are the ones setting the program and you know, the whole idea of build it and they'll come. But I'm afraid in this particular case, it is very consumer driven, and the consumer is going to have to indicate, are they comfortable going back to self-service, hot bars, cold bars, salad bars, or not? And, you know, it's a good, if you look at total deli sales, deli prepared is the biggest area, and it was a growing area for a long time. So, you know, and of course, an area of huge investment, and I'd be very curious to see what's going to happen.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on that. We'll check in a couple of weeks with the deli prepared. But for now, enjoy those oranges.